Welcome to the Fusion Flow podcast, where transformation meets breath, healing, and empowerment. I'm your host, Erica Carter-Folk, transformational coach and founder of Mind Fusion Transformations. Let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, Fusion Flow family. Welcome back to another episode of the Fusion Flow podcast. I'm Erica, and let me just say, I'm thrilled to have you here today. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the party. This podcast is all about helping you heal, grow, and transform so you can live your best, most aligned life. And trust me, we're doing it with equal parts heart and sass, because healing doesn't have to be boring. It can be bold, soulful, and even a little spicy. Today we're diving into a topic that's as juicy as it is transformative, the relationship mirror. Oh yeah, we're going there. Relationships are like a magnifying glass. They show us not only the good stuff, but also the things that we might need to work on. And let's be real, sometimes what we see isn't pretty. Sometimes it's the version of ourselves we thought we'd outgrown. Sometimes it's the wounds we thought we'd heal. But here's the thing, every relationship, whether a hot mess or a masterpiece, has the potential to teach us something about ourselves. Now, before we get into it, let's clear something up. People often think that if a relationship ends, it means it failed. But what if it succeeded in showing you something vital about yourself? What if the purpose of the relationship was never forever, but awakening? All right, let's start with the concept of the relationship mirror. This idea is simple but powerful. Every person you've been in a relationship with reflects something back to you. Sometimes they mirror your strengths, your capacity to love, your resilience, your ability to forgive. And sometimes they mirror your wounds, insecurities, and those pesky little patterns you might not even realize you're carrying. For me, I noticed a pattern in my relationship where I was drawn to men who seemed strong and confident, but later revealed controlling or manipulative behaviors. Y'all, I was out here mistaking control for strength. Can you relate? It was like I had a radar for emotionally unavailable partners. And somehow, I thought if I just loved them enough, they changed. Spoiler alert, they didn't. But I did. Here's the thing. These patterns aren't random. They're like little breadcrumbs leading you to the parts of yourself that need healing. And when you start to follow those breadcrumbs with curiosity instead of judgment, that's when the magic happens. That's when you stop asking, why does this keep happening to me? And start asking, what is this trying to teach me? And that shift, my friend, is where true empowerment begins. Carl Jung said it best. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most of us are out here thinking we're just unlucky in love. But really, it's those buried beliefs pulling strings. Once you see it, you can shift it. Here's the thing about the relationship mirror. It's not just about the people we've dated or married. Oh no, boo. This mirror shows up everywhere. It shows up with your mama, your sibling, and your kids, your coworkers, even the person who cut you off in traffic. That's right, mirrors don't discriminate. They're not just reserved for your boo thing or that heartbreak that had you listening to sad playlists at 2 a.m. Let's take a little inventory. Ever had a boss or a coworker who constantly made you feel like you had to prove yourself just to be enough? Like nothing you did was ever good enough? Or they always had one more hoop for you to jump through? That might not just be a work issue. That could be echoing a wound from childhood. Maybe a parent who was emotionally distant or who made love feel conditional. That performance for love cycle? Yeah, that's a mirror. But let's talk friendships. That best friend who always centers themselves, never holds space for you, and disappears the moment you need support. That might be reflecting a pattern of emotional abandonment you experienced early in life. A mirror of your belief that your needs don't matter. Or worse, that you're only worthy when you're useful to someone else. And let's not even get started on family. Family dynamics are like a hall of mirrors. Every eye roll at Thanksgiving, every backhanded compliment from Aunt Cheryl, every time you shrink yourself to avoid causing drama. Those are mirrors showing you how you learn to cope, to stay small, to keep the peace at the cost of your own truth. These non-romantic relationships often fly under the radar, but they're some of the most powerful teachers in our lives. Why? Because we don't always question them. We just accept the behavior as normal until we wake up and realize, wait, this isn't love, it's obligation. This isn't connection, it's codependency. So I want you to reflect. What non-romantic mirrors are showing up in your life right now? Who consistently triggers a part of you that feels unseen, unworthy, or unsafe? And instead of judging it, can you get curious? What are they reflecting back to you that still needs your attention, your compassion, your healing? People don't trigger you unless there's something unresolved inside of you. Gabby Bernstein. And I don't say that to blame you, love. I say it to empower you. Because if you see it, you can shift it. You don't have to keep playing the same emotional roles you inherited just because they're familiar. You get to rewrite how you show up and who you allow in your inner circle. Okay, it's time to get real with yourself. Grab that journal, your favorite cozy blanket, and let's have a heart-to-heart. What patterns have you noticed in your relationships? And don't worry, this is a judgment-free zone. We're here to reflect, not roast ourselves. I want you to think about your last 3 relationships. Or if you haven't been in many, even those unspoken crushes or situationships count. What did you keep attracting? Were they emotionally unavailable? Did they make you feel loved or leave you questioning your worth? Were you constantly the giver? Or did you find yourself walking on eggshells just to keep the peace? This reminds me of a truth that can sting a little. Wayne Dyer said, "We don't attract what we want, we attract what we are." Now hear me out. This doesn't mean we deserve pain or chaos, but it does mean we unconsciously match what we're familiar with. If chaos feels like home, we'll find it, even when we're craving peace. For me, one of the hardest lessons I learned was about self-worth. I was in a relationship with someone who constantly undermined my decisions and made me feel like I needed their approval to be valued. It was like living with an emotional critic. But here's what I didn't realize at the time. I was the one giving them the power to dictate my worth. I had handed them the keys to my self-esteem, and let me tell you, they drove it straight into a ditch. But here's the plot twist. Once I started recognizing my own value, I stopped settling for crumbs and started demanding the whole damn cake. Because let's be real, you're not a side dish. You're the full course. Here's a quote to reflect on. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. Rumi. Isn't that beautiful? What if the love you're seeking isn't outside of you, but hidden beneath all the walls you built to survive? Healing is about gently removing those bricks, one breath, one boundary, one breakthrough at a time. Some of us play the rescuer, always trying to fix our partner. Some of us are the chameleon. We shapeshift to be who they need instead of being ourselves. And some of us, we become the ghost, disappearing emotionally when things get too real. These roles aren't just random. They're usually survival strategies we learned early in life. And recognizing your role is step 1 in the rewriting of your relationship story. Let's take it a step deeper, shall we? Because it's not just the people we choose, it's who we become in the relationship that reveals the deepest layers of our healing journey. Now I want you to think about this. In most of your relationships, what role do you tend to play? Because yes, we all have roles we slip into without even realizing it. These aren't conscious choices. They're often coping strategies that we picked up to stay safe, feel loved, or avoid abandonment. Let's break a few of them down. The rescuer. You're the fixer, the emotional EMT. You find broken birds and believe your love can heal them. You see potential, not reality. You think, if I just love them enough, they'll change. Sound familiar? This role often comes from childhood environments where you had to earn love by caretaking. But here's the hard truth. Love that requires rescuing isn't love. It's obligation dressed in emotional labor. The chameleon. You become whoever they need you to be. You shrink, bend, and mold yourself to avoid conflict or rejection. One day you're into hiking because they are. The next, you're pretending to like horror movies when you hate being scared. This role is often born from a deep fear of abandonment. And while it may keep the peace in the short term, it leaves you disconnected from yourself. And baby, you deserve to be chosen as your whole self, not some curated version. The ghost. Not the kind that disappears completely, but the kind that disappears emotionally. Vulnerability feels dangerous, so you keep your walls high and your heart heavily guarded. You might crave intimacy, but you pull back the minute it starts to feel too real. This role often comes from wounds of betrayal or emotional neglect. But true connection can't thrive behind armor. It needs softness and risk. The performer. This one's sneaky. You show up as the perfect partner, always upbeat, always agreeable, never causing waves. You believe your value is in being easy to love. But here's the twist. Perfectionism is a mask for unworthiness. And the moment you slip, you fear rejection. The performer isn't in love. They're auditioning. And you, my friend, are not on trial. The lone wolf. You're hyper-independent, almost allergic to asking for help or leaning on anyone. You say things like, I don't need anyone, or I've got this on my own. Independence is beautiful, but when it becomes a shield, it keeps real intimacy at bay. Often, the lone wolf was the child who had to parent themselves or others. So now, vulnerability feels like weakness. But it's actually where your strength lies. These roles aren't random. They're rooted in your nervous system, your upbringing, your past heartbreaks. But just because you learned them, doesn't mean you're stuck with them. So let's pause and check in. What role do you usually play? Where do you think that role was born? Who did you need to be in childhood to feel safe, seen, or loved? And more importantly, what would it feel like to let that role go and just be you? If you want to take this deeper, write a letter to the version of yourself who played that role. Thank them for keeping you safe, but let them know they don't need to lead anymore. You've got this now. The roles we play were once armor, but now they're cages. And healing is the process of setting ourselves free. Erica Carter Folk. All right, now that we've had our aha moment, let's talk about breaking those unhealthy cycles. Because honey, awareness is great, but action is where the real transformation happens. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They see the pattern, they know it's unhealthy, but they don't know how to step off that merry-go-round of pain. My own breaking point came at a business conference. I thought I was just there to learn about growing my business. The next thing I knew, I was on the stage. And the facilitator was using NLP techniques on me because I realized I had been in an abusive relationship longer than anyone else in the room. Talk about a mic drop moment. It was like someone handed me a mirror and I could finally see the truth I'd been avoiding. That moment shattered my denial and lit a fire under me to change. I still remember the rush in the room when the facilitator looked at me and said, Erica, you've been surviving, not living. Whew, that cracked me wide open. I felt my body tense, my throat tight, the floodgates open. In that moment, I wasn't a coach. I wasn't a professional. I was a woman who finally saw the truth she'd been running from. And that's the thing about the mirror. It doesn't lie. It waits. From there, I dove headfirst into NLP, hypnosis, and breathwork. NLP helped me reframe my thoughts and turn self-doubt into self-empowerment. Breathwork allowed me to release the pain and trauma I'd been carrying in my body. And hypnosis helped me rewire those subconscious beliefs that were keeping me stuck. And let me tell you, there's nothing like that first breath of freedom when you realize you are not your past. Here are 3 steps you can take to start breaking your own cycles. First step is acknowledging the role you played. This doesn't mean blaming yourself, but it does mean recognizing where you may have ignored red flags, overgiven, or settled for less than you deserve. Step 2 is to heal the root cause. Often these patterns stem from childhood wounds or beliefs that we've carried for years. Tools like breathwork, journaling, or working with a coach can help you heal these deeper layers. And step 3, set new standards. Get clear on what you want and need in a relationship moving forward. What are your non-negotiables? What values must align? Now you know I'm all about giving you practical tools. So here's an exercise you can try this week. The relationship inventory. But let me make it even juicier. I want you to get a piece of paper and divide it into 3 columns. At the top, write relationship, lesson learned, and quality to carry forward. You're going to list out your past 3 relationships or significant connections. For each relationship, write down one thing that person taught you, positive or negative. Reflect on how those lessons have shaped who you are today. What patterns do you want to leave behind? And what qualities do you want to carry forward? For me, one of the most empowering moments came when I decided to forgive my ex-husband, not for his sake, but for mine. I had released the resentment I had been carrying, which was a weight on my soul. That decision didn't excuse his behavior, but it freed me from being emotionally tied to the past. It allowed me to set healthier boundaries in future relationships without bitterness. Here's another quote for you to reflect on. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for what truly aligns with your soul. Erica Carter Folk. And babe, sometimes that means letting go of the version of you who tolerated less, just to make space for the version of you who knows their worth. Let's talk about something tender, because healing doesn't always happen after the relationship ends. Sometimes it shows up right in the middle of it. Maybe you're listening to this and thinking, I'm starting to see my patterns, but I'm still in the relationship. And I want you to know you're not behind. Sometimes the mirror shows up mid-journey, and when it does, it becomes a sacred opportunity. When both people are willing to do the work, a relationship can become a powerful container for growth. It can be where wounds are seen and soothed, where triggers become teachers, where the pain isn't avoided, it's alchemized into something deeper, more connected, more honest. But, and this is a big one, not every relationship is built for that level of transformation. Sometimes one person starts waking up, healing, evolving, and the other, they stay stuck. They cling to old patterns, avoid accountability, or even resent your growth. And that's when the mirror shows you another truth. You can't heal for someone. You can invite them, inspire them, even love them through it, but you cannot carry both journeys. And that's where the choice comes in. Do we grow together? Or do I release this connection with love and keep growing on my own? Neither path is easy, but both are valid. It's not about blaming the other person. It's about honoring the truth of where you are and whether the relationship can meet you there. Ask yourself, can this relationship hold space for my evolution? Or do I have to shrink in order to stay? If your healing makes your partner uncomfortable, that's not your cue to slow down. It's your cue to check, are they challenged by your growth in a way that sparks their own transformation? or are they threatened by it in a way that causes sabotage, shame, or shutdown? There's a difference between growing pains and being emotionally starved. You deserve to be in a relationship where your healing is celebrated, not tolerated, where your voice is heard, where you don't have to dim to keep the peace. And if that means loving someone from a distance, then baby, that's not a loss. That's a return to yourself. The real flex is being brave enough to walk alone until you find someone who sees your healing not as a threat, but as an invitation. Here's what I want you to take away from today. You are not your past. You are not defined by the relationships that didn't work out or the mistakes you've made. You are a constantly evolving, growing, and healing being. Here's the thing. Don't chase love. Become love and let it find you. When you embody your wholeness, you won't have to beg for breadcrumbs. The right people will feel your energy and meet you there. Every experience, no matter how painful, has the potential to teach us and help us grow. And every step you take toward healing is a step towards the life you deserve. And you, my friend, are worthy of love, peace, and connection. This episode might have stirred something in you. Tears, frustration, or maybe even hope. Whatever it is, honor it. That's your soul asking to be seen, held, and heard. You are not broken. You are becoming. And this mirror, it's just showing you who you really are beneath the pain. Powerful, whole, and worthy of extraordinary love. Thank you for joining me in this deep dive into the relationship mirror. Remember, every relationship, no matter how challenging, has the potential to teach us something valuable about ourselves. When we reflect with compassion and take steps to heal, we create space for healthier, more aligned connections. Next week, we'll explore the powerful tool for emotional healing, breathwork. In episode 5, we'll talk about how breathwork can help you release the pain you've been holding on to and reconnect with your inner peace. I'll even guide you through a mini breathwork session, so you won't want to miss it. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, take a deep breath, trust the journey, and keep flowing forward.
This has been the Fusion Flow podcast with Erica Carter Folk. For more resources or to connect with me, visit mind-fusion.com or follow me on Instagram at mindfusioncoach. See you next time.